And what is going on, people? It is Sunday night. It is a little after 6 o'clock, which means me and my brother Jamie Moran are right on time with the Series X podcast. Shout out to the chat. What is going on, people? Great to see you here, nice and early. And it's a special edition, man. I should have made more graphics for this, but it is a very special day in an Xbox gamer's life, because today we are celebrating the 15-year anniversary, or dare I say birthday, of the Xbox 360. So we are going to go in, we are going to share some of our thoughts, some of our memories, some of our favorite games from that era, as well as talk about the Series X and other Xbox news and entertainment. Of course, this is the podcast for Xbox gamers, where, again, and shout out to Crispy in the chat, I know he's going to let everybody know, this is the podcast where we do nothing but talk about Xbox. No other names of other platforms, no comparisons, anything like that. We just talk about the Xbox news, whether it's good, bad, ugly, great, wonderful, whatever it is. That's what we talk about. It's all Xbox. So if you guys know some Xbox gamers out there who are not tuned into this show right now, you need to share this link with them. You need to hit that thumbs up button. You need to share this link with them and let them know that this is the only place to be on a Sunday night. But with that being said, we do have a special guest on board today, and it is a very special guest. It's somebody I've known in these YouTube streets for quite a long time. Somebody who is incredibly helpful with the community, with, you know, people who are up and coming, want to get into YouTube, stuff like that. I will say he was an integral part in him and his crew for the channel. His channel at that point in time was very integral in getting Next Podcast set up and helping me learn the ropes when it comes to OBS and stuff like that. But not only that, lately he has just been dropping gem after gem of interviews on his, you know, YouTube channel, gaming industry interviews, and going in depth with people in the industry. It's been really awesome to see. So it is my pleasure to welcome for the first time on the Series X podcast, Italian Clowns. How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's going on, people? It's the Italian Clowns here on this show, the Series X podcast with Xbot and Jamie. It's a pleasure being here, man. I still haven't found that perfect calzone in Florida. You know, it must be floating down the river somewhere. Some alligator must have gotten it, but pleasure to be here, bro.
I don't think Florida has rivers. There's an ocean and a gulf, and that's it, man. And Everglades. That's it.
Well,
no rivers.
We got rivers. There's a river. Yeah, there's a river. It's like in like out in the boonies in Florida. It's called the Rainbow River, and it's like a state park kind of thing. And you can actually go with rafts on it. And sometimes you'll see alligators by the riverbed. They still let you go down it anyway.
Well, anybody who lives in Florida, they should just build their house on a raft, because you guys are slowly sinking anyway. But
we are.
Yo, Clowns, it is a pleasure to have you on. Now, we've only had two other special guests, and that was on one episode. And I hope the people out there notice we're only bringing in the cream of the crop, the people that, you know, absolute gamers, definitely prefer Xbox, but they're ready to call it how they see it right down the line. And we're doing our best to give you guys, like I said, the cream of the crop, the top shelf special guests. So now we have Clowns coming in, of course, a founder of the Four Guys with Quarters, which is one of my absolute favorite podcasts, one of the longest standing podcasts in this community as well. And from what I know in this community, the first podcast to really go in on graphics, something to look at while you're ingesting with your ears, kind of like the topics and everything like that. Am I right, Clowns? Basically, wasn't Four Guys like the first one to really go in with graphics, something to look at while you're listening to the podcast in this community, man?
Yeah, we actually were, and you know, despite our differences these days, how the original crew doesn't really talk anymore. I will say this: when I started seeing streamers on Twitch start to use OBS, and it was very difficult back then. It wasn't
Mhm.
as easy as it is today. I mentioned it to Inferno, and Inferno was like, "Okay, let me take a look at this and see what I can do." And he came up with a format, a graphical format that had all of our images, like all of our webcams,
Mhm.
plus topic images, and even like a rotating Apple Motion graphic at the bottom with all our links, which was really cool because for the time for a podcast,
Never seen it
everybody
before.
was used. Yeah, everybody was just used to the Hangout circle. So I would say that I think that we were one of the first podcasts that used that type of format.
Nice. And I like I said, you guys inspired me when I was thinking about doing a show on this channel. Next podcast, which shameless plug is also, it's also been around for a while. You know what I'm saying? But you guys inspired me. I was like, man, I don't want a podcast that's just a black screen, people staring at a black screen with icons. Like, I want something like Four Guys, but different. I was like, we need gameplay. And shout out to you and the rest of the crew, the original crew. You guys were so helpful, and you to this day as well, man. So helpful with people that want to do something on YouTube, want to do something for the community, want to share content and stuff. I feel like that's the way to be. When it comes to up and comers, people that want to kind of make a name for themselves, all that good stuff. It is good to see YouTubers that will extend their hand out, and help people come up to that level, man. So on that, dude, I will say, Clowns, I highly respect you, not only as a YouTuber, not only as a person in the gaming industry, and the names that you get for your interviews. One interview I will always keep close to my heart, and you know which one that is. But, dude, highly respect what you do over there at Four Guys and what you do in the community, and it is a pleasure to have you on as a guest, bro.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. And I will continue always helping out everyone in the community. I believe that the YouTube community is big enough for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone deserves a chance if they want it. If they want a podcast, I'll be there to help them.
Nice. All of a sudden, Clown's DM on Twitter just blew up with everybody who wanted to go. Like, I was thinking about making a channel too. How do you do this? I know how that is, bro. But dude, we got to introduce my partner in crime, the guy who is absolutely so incredibly patient with me, like a parent almost. It's uncanny, dude. And I can't say how much I appreciate having this man by my side as a co-host for this extremely experimental show. The elusive gamer himself, Jamie Moran. What is up, brother?
Oh, hey, people, it's good to be back. And hey, man, it's always a pleasure to do a podcast with you. And it's awesome to have Clowns on this week. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about Xbox because, again, it's the 15th year anniversary of the 360, which is my favorite console of all time. So let's get into it.
Nice, brother. And guys out there, I didn't do it yet. So, guys, do this with me. I have to hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button. Again, share this out. Let people know that we are live right now with a very different kind of show, a show where we don't deal with console war drama. We don't compare platforms. All we do is talk about Xbox. Let people know that there is a place that they can go to celebrate and criticize the Xbox platform as they see fit. And that's right here on this channel, and that's right now. But guys, we got to get into it. And like Jamie said, like I said, happy 15-year birthday. I guess do we call it a birthday or is it an anniversary, Jamie? I'm not sure. Where are we going with that? Are we going anniversary or birthday?
Let's go with anniversary.
Okay, we're gonna make it sound a little more grown up. I got you. So 15-year anniversary for the Xbox 360. Now I do know when the 360 first launched all those years ago, I remember how excited I was. I remember when I saw what this system looked like on MTV. I think it was Elijah Wood that was there that helped show it off and everything like that. something so different. It was standing up on its side instead of laying down the way you would typically see a console. It was smoothed out with curves in the front instead of being a rigid box. There was so many different things to it. I was like, yo, I need that. I don't know, Jamie, what do you remember kind of like your first impressions? What you thought when you first saw the 360, like when you saw the unveiling and stuff like that? What was going through your mind all those years ago when you saw this thing, man?
The 360 came out at a weird time for me because, I was hopping back between different consoles constantly and handhelds and PC. And, I was looking forward to new tech, and I kind of kept away from gaming news a lot, just due to things in personal life, stuff I can't really see on YouTube.
Oh, no.
But I was looking forward to new tech, and funnily enough, is that one of the first things I saw for the 360 was the original Mass Effect trailer, and I was like, "Wait, this box is going to do that? This box?" And to me, going into it, I was like, "This is a Mass Effect and Gears box." So like I was excited, man, and the being a Brit, over here, like everything's pretty, I'm not going to say the word bland, but it's like, just plain, like, so when like the woman came out and pulled the 360 out of the bag and then she turned it on, like I cringed, like, but then again, I'm from the Northeast, we cringe at everything. So, but like I was excited because the original Xbox was this machine where you could play games on it, you could play your DVDs and CDs, but you could also rip music, and it had a UI, and it was more than just a console that could play games. And then jumping into the 360, they kind of advertise it as, this HD gaming console that would do more entertainment stuff. And this was before Netflix, this was before Amazon Prime and stuff, and literally before YouTube was even like, a well-known thing. So like they came out and said you could stream movies from your PC to your console, and it was stuff like that. And it's like, oh, these consoles are, going to do more than just gaming now. And to me, it was an interesting prospect. But getting the box, it was a good time, because I think the 360, in my opinion, other than being my favorite console of all time, it's the generation where I'd say gaming kind of, I want to say, standardized itself, because before the 360 generation, I never heard people refer to games as first party or third party. Never once. It was always, oh, this game has that console has that. And, it was the generation where we got so many new franchises, some of which we still play today. Assassin's Creed, Battlefield, Call of Duty, and we had so many interesting experiences like Dead Space, Mass Effect, BioShock, Mirror's Edge. We had countless different experiences last generation, more of which I'd say last generation was better because of the wide variety of new kinds of titles we had.
Well, it was also one of the longest generations ever, really, if you think about it.
And, even though it was 15 years ago those consoles came out, not too long after the economy collapsed, and, these companies, they extended the life of the platforms. So, Microsoft went with the Kinect, and, that extended the life for a few years. And, I had a Kinect, and the Kinect was actually pretty cool. But I used it for games with, voice commands, such as, shocker, Mass Effect 3. And it was just cool because, we had so many like small experiences as well, because that's when the indie boom happened. Like indie games never popped off like they ever did until that generation. And, there was a film about it, Indie Game, the movie. And, I think it's still on Netflix. But it was just an interesting time because, again, Trials took off, and then we had things like Fez, and then Super Meat Boy. These games sold like a million plus.
Yeah.
And, we had things like really experimental things like 1 versus 100. This free thing we could play for like a month or two. And it was just new. Like every week, like there was something different coming out on that console. And it was just a good time. And to me, like, in a time when I was still using social media at the time, and at such an early point in the social media life cycle, like people were genuinely excited and happy to be Xbox fans. And there was so much to look forward to. And again, we started off the generation with things like, the Rare games, and there was Gears, and then there was Alan Wake later on down the line. It's just, to me, it was a good time to be an Xbox fan. And, it's one of the reasons why I'm excited about the new generation, because it kind of reminds me of those early 360 days.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
I will say, when it came to the 360, in terms of like any other competition, they were like a year ahead of any other, anything else coming out at that point in time. And I know they definitely enjoyed that. Let me move it over to Clowns real quick, because Clowns, I do know one thing is infamous when it comes to the 360, because, here we talk about the good and the bad. But with the launch of the 360, you say the 360 launch, there's a certain color, a certain shape that gets talked about. Talking about the red ring of death, right? But I got to ask you, Clowns, like, where were you when they unveiled the 360? What were your thoughts and everything like that? Like, are you looking back at that system kind of like fondly, or do you have a different set of emotions when it comes to that system, bro?
I think the 360 was one of the strongest eras for Xbox. I think it really shined the Xbox brand, to be honest with you, and it brought more people over, especially in the North American markets. When the Xbox 360 launched, I was working at Target, and I was working the overnight shift. So we worked the overnight till the opening, and there were people lining up. Like, there was a line in the parking lot like crazy for the 360. And at the time, I knew what the original Xbox was, right? But I thought I was going to get out of gaming, so I didn't really expect getting an Xbox 360, or I wasn't even really paying attention to the advertisements for it, unfortunately. And the line was just nuts. And all of a sudden, like a PR rep that went to Target from like a Microsoft, or worked as a consultant for their PR, handed all of us at Target an Xbox 360 lanyard to put around our necks with our Target badges for the launch. So I was like, oh man, this is cool. And the best thing about it, as the line was standing outside and I was working the overnight shift, my manager kind of like let me do whatever I wanted. He didn't really care if I really put stuff up on the shelves or box stuff. So I was sitting at the display unit. Yeah, he was a great guy. Yeah, he just didn't trust me because he did some strange things, because it's a whole another ball game. But let's just say a forklift went off by itself one time. So I was standing by the demo unit, and it was Peter Jackson's King Kong, and I remember like sitting there playing with it, right? Because the demo unit was just kind of like sitting there, nobody was in the store. I was playing it. All my coworkers were actually working. Oh man, it was great. I had a lot of fun, and that launch really got me excited. But I actually honestly did not get the 360 right away. It actually took a while. It was a friend of mine from a group that we had on the original Xbox for Rainbow Six Siege Black Arrow, called Abandon All Hope. He sent me an Xbox 360 with the Madagascar disc, and then I got Modern Warfare 2, and I was hooked. Yeah, I was hooked.
Dude, I remember the clouds from the explosions in Modern Warfare, or Call of Duty 2. Call of Duty 2. That, like, I remember seeing that on the display and seeing, like, the clouds that came up after the explosions, and never seeing anything like that graphically before in a video game. I was like, yo, I need that.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was insane, Xbox. Like, the experience I had, I fell in love with the 360. I couldn't believe that my friend actually went out and wanted me on 360 so bad that he actually went out and bought me one. Like, I thought he was kidding. He was like, give me your address. A package is going to arrive tomorrow. I'm sending you 360. And I was like, yeah, right. He's just kidding around. Right. I get home, there's a 360 sitting on my door with Madagascar, and I'm like, wow, he really wants me to get into the 360 like I was onto the original Xbox. And I gotta tell you, man, I was really hooked. And from then on, I started buying. I was really big into Call of Duty, and then I started getting into Fable, and I got it. Oh man, it just went on and on. Mass Effect and Skyrim, like
Dude,
just man,
day one launch, Need for Speed Most Wanted was my joint, man. Like it came out for the OG Xbox as well. But who wanted that, man? Like, it was running on the 360 and it was running beautifully. That was my game when that and what was it? Project Gotham. Project Gotham as well, man. Dude, I was heavy into racing games, even more than I am now. And those two games, man, they ate up hours of my life when I got that 360, dude.
You know, I was really hoping that at the time that they were going to bring over the Midnight Club Dub Edition that was on the original Xbox. I was really hooked on that game, and I wanted it to come to 360 so bad, and I can never find something that got my excitement so geared up until actually I got into the Forza series. That was Forza Horizon 2, I think, is what I played, and that got me into it. But man, and the 360 Red Ring of Death, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I never had that problem.
That was going to be one of my questions, man. You never ran into that. Huh?
I never ran into that. I think throughout my household, I had about 2 fat white 360s. I had one of the black 360 Slims, and then I got one of the newer 360 Slims that was black, that was a little bit more shiny. And yeah, none of that issues. You know, when I ran to the Red Ring of Death is this past year, I went to a yard sale, right? Okay. And this guy was selling his Xbox 360 with all his games, like every game he had. And it was a ton of games with his Kinect, like in mint condition. And he only sold it for I think $20, maybe less than that. So I brought it home and I booted it up. And his Slim had the 360 kind of Ring of Death. I think it was called something different than the Red Ring, but it was similar. However, if I turned it on and then plugged in the HDMI cable, I could actually play the games without the thing dying out. It's only if the HDMI cable is plugged in first, the system would stall out. But still, I mean, $20, all those games, a brand new Mint Connect. I'm not even upset. No. I'm not even upset about it. Dude, I love the 360 Xbox, man. It was so good.
Nice. And I will say, when it comes to all the systems I've had, I started my first system that I owned is not an Xbox, and I came really close to saying it. I've owned multiple systems in my lifetime, right? 360 is right up there. And when it comes to the Red Ring, this is something I learned as well, because there were points in time where my original day one edition, the 360 with the chrome disc tray, that's how you know. Because later on with the arcade editions and stuff, they made it an all-white disc tray. But if you have the chrome one, then you were that's the first year consoles. And I still have the chrome one downstairs in the living room now, and it still works. It doesn't even have an HDMI port. It's got the port with the component cables, all that good stuff. But I would get 3 red lights in the ring every once in a while. So I would open it up, I would clean it out. Back in the 360 era, I was a heavy smoker, so I would smoke in my room while playing games and stuff. So I would routinely open up my 360 and clean it out just to get any kind of smoke gunk or anything like that, any kind of buildup out of there. But I also noticed that a lot of people were mistaking the Red Ring for not having their component cables in the back of the 360 hooked up all the way. I noticed that because I had it a couple times, and I'm like, yo, what is going on? And I felt the back, and I felt that big gray kind of block for the component cables that you plug into the back of the 360. And I noticed it wasn't completely plugged in, because I would squeeze it and it would actually click in. And once it clicked into place, it worked fine. So like I helped out my friends, any of my friends that were like, yo, dude, I got the red ring. I'm like, you sure about that? I would go over their house and check their cables and stuff. I would clean out their systems if I had to, stuff like that. So I was kind of known for that whole thing. But Project Gotham, absolutely hooked me on the 360. That's gonna bring us right into this like the next kind of like 360 topic. And don't worry, guys, we're gonna get into more news that's more current and stuff. But we gotta reminisce a little. I mean, 15 years the 360 has been out. I think we can give that system a little time. So Jamie, I gotta ask you, and man, I don't know if I should put in a stipulation saying besides Mass Effect, but I got to ask you, like, the one game, and I know it's really hard because the generation was so long. You're looking at what, like 05 to 2013? But I got to ask you, what is the one game in your mind that like epitomizes the 360 era for you? That when you think about the 360, this game just automatically pops into your head. And I mean, if you gotta say Mass Effect, then definitely say Mass Effect. But if you can think of something else, that would be awesome too, bro.
I won't say Mass Effect.
Whoa.
BioShock.
Oh, great choice, man.
Like
go ahead.
That game to me was phenomenal because we had first person games, regularly at that point. We had on the 360, we had things like, Prey and stuff like that. But like BioShock,
great, dude.
Oh, and remember the Darkness?
Yes, Darkness and Darkness 2. Oh, I love the Darkness games.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I loved the 360 generation. It was so experimental. Like, think about it. Like, a game like BioShock wouldn't come out today if there wasn't a game like BioShock that preceded it, would there? Not really, because BioShock was a weird game. You'd go around killing little girls for like this enzyme they have. Like that's literally what you did in the game. But you didn't have to. But if you did, you had extra awesome powers. So it was that. And plus, it was just such an interesting setting. It was this city underwater, and it was, I don't know, Rapture is one of the most Xbox 360 things to me, because again, like, we've had remasters this generation of tons of games, and the all 360 generation games, because people have this weird nostalgia for last gen. Like I said, like, I know the what's the fourth generation or something or whatever is like called the golden age. To me, the golden age is the 360 age. Oblivion was mind blown at the time, because Morrowind on the original 360, or I should say the original Xbox, it was blurry. It was draw distances back then couldn't really go that far, so it was like you were walking in fog constantly. But like Oblivion to me was just mind blowing, the terrible dialogue, it was just like perfect. There's memes to this day still use, Oblivion dialogue. Things like Dead Space. Like Dead Space was just phenomenal. And like, it's one of the reasons why I talk about backwards compatibility, though. Like, all the games last generation were just so interesting. Like, I'm looking at my shelf right now. It's like, we had things like The Saboteur, an open world World War II game set in Paris, where the game was black and white until you liberated certain areas. Like, it was such an interesting take on the game. It was a cross between GTA and Assassin's Creed, and it was so good. And it had this expansion pack that if you paid 800 Microsoft points, you got nudies in the strip club. So it's like, it was an interesting generation. It was the generation where we got like expansions for console games. The Ballad of Gay Tony and the biker expansion for GTA 4 was great, absolutely great. We had the zombie expansion for Red Dead Redemption. We don't get stuff like that now. It's just like, people like to call the last generation for the introduction to microtransactions, and I think no, like, it was the generation where we got experimental games. Because again, a game like BioShock would not come out today if BioShock never existed before it. Why do you think Prey did so well among like the critics?
Dude,
because
Prey,
it's the BioShock game.
The beginning of Prey, how Prey began was one of the most creative things I have ever seen in a video game. You know, you were there with your, what, I forgot, it was uncle or grandfather, like, like at his kind of like bar slash like eatery, and you know, you got your girlfriend, your girlfriend on the other side, you know, kind of like working the bar or and whatnot. And all of a sudden, like, this alien invasion just starts happening out of nowhere. Dude, that hooked me so bad. Like, it was so good. Seeing, like, you know, the roof of the establishment just disintegrate and seeing a huge UFO with lights shining down into it. Dude, it was such a, like, cinematic experience, like, out of nowhere that just, like, thrust you into this story involving kind of like your Native American heritage, but like an alien invasion going on where they're abducting people everywhere around the world. That was one of the coolest introductions to a game I've ever seen, dude.
Yeah, and that also goes into, like, you know, the darkness. The darkness is a weird concept for a game. You know, you play as this like kind of mobster dude who has demon arms coming out of his back and who constantly goes Jackie, you know, into the dude's ear, and you know, you can eat people's hearts and stuff, and
you can.
you're trying to like save your ex-girlfriend. It's just it was just such a good generation, because again, like, this generation's been cool, but nothing will ever be like last generation, just because of the amount of different fresh games we got.
You know, I never played The Darkness.
Really?
Oh, so good.
Is it? It's
Yeah.
funny too, because some of the, you know, some of the people I interview that you mentioned have been associated with the comic writing of The Darkness. I'm actually on the press list. I'm on the press list for so many comic book companies, and they just released The Darkness, the 25th anniversary edition. So
Really?
now that you guys mentioned the game, and I'm supposed to review that comic book, I think I better play the game,
No,
because it's probably.
they came out with two. They came out with The Darkness and The Darkness 2. I highly suggest playing both of them. The first one, when you play it, you're going to realize, you know, like, you're going to tell it's an old game. You know what I'm saying? There were certain things, because that was at the beginning of the 360 era. There were certain things that at that point in time looked incredible for the beginning of that generation, but now it's kind of like you can tell it's old. The Darkness 2, on the other hand, is still incredibly immersive, and the style that they used for it, the artistic style, and kind of like the quasi kind of like comic book look to it. Dude, you got to play both of them, man. You got to. You just got to. If you're doing that, then you got to play these games, dude.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out now, because now you guys piqued my interest. It sounds like a really cool game.
All right. Yo, shout out to the Game Filter in the chat. He's working on beating my my records in Forza Horizon 4. All right, that's cool. That's cool. I will let you know, Filter. My favorite Horizon was actually the first one that debuted on the Xbox 360, the original Forza Horizon 1. Absolutely love that game. They had a car crew. You and your friends could make a car crew, and it had a car crew garage. And I was known throughout my friends list as the guy who got like all the cars in Forza Horizon. So when I made my own car crew, I would put all my best cars in the crew garage. And what that would do is it made them available with my tunes and everything. It made them available to my crew members, so they can go in and use crew garage cars to race online against other people. It was awesome. I had people kind of like, you know, being creative with different vinyl sets and putting their cars in there in the crew garage as well. Forza Horizon 1 was my absolute favorite. Portal Player says Darkness 1 and 2 are on Xbox One. Yes, backwards compatibility, and that's why Clowns needs to play those now. I'm surprised. Yo, Clowns, I really do think you will really like those games, man. If I had to guess, knowing you as, you know, a friend and everything like that, dude, I definitely think you would like those.
Yeah, doesn't it? I mean, without spoiling the whole story, doesn't it have something to do with like the mob and
Yes.
Oh yeah.
demons?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that fits
It's
perfectly
right up your
because
alley.
it's like a battle in my own head. Yeah, so this would be a great game.
It is right up your alley, brother. Dude, let me know when you start getting into it, man. Maybe you should stream it on your channel, dude. That would be awesome as well. Just saying, throwing things out there, man. You know me, I brainstorm a lot, but
You know, it's actually not a bad idea. I'm thinking I'm gonna take your thought up on that and do it, man.
nice. Well, you know the drill. Just tag me when you're doing it, because I want to drop in and hear somebody playing that for the first time. You know, the first time. Oh man, there's some kind of like jaw dropping moments, dude. It would be great, absolutely great. But guys, well, I'm trying to think. All right, one more question about the 360, and then we'll move on. All right, you know, looking at the grand scheme of things, and try to do this again without mentioning other platforms, but in the grand scheme of things, console gaming in general, like I feel that the 360 has a special place in the history of console gaming, like right up there, especially with it being so popular within a generation that lasted so long. And you know, the original Xbox kind of put that name out there for a lot of people and a lot of hardcore gamers, because you know, it was original Xbox, OG Xbox, and Halo, and you know, Halo 2, and you know, stuff like that. But I really feel like the 360 brought the name Xbox, you know, it brought it not only to the hardcore, but also to the casual market, which we all know the casual market is the bigger market, the wider range, stuff like that. Jamie, with looking at console gaming throughout its history, where do you think, what do you think is 360's hook there? Do you think it's gonna be remembered like throughout time as like one of the best consoles? Do you think possibly it's going to fade away in memory? What do you think is going to be that hook there? Do you think people years from now are going to be like, oh, the 360 era, you know, back in that day, and they're going to point to certain things that kind of started in that era? Do you think that the 360 is going to have that kind of like that nostalgic effect or that impact on the console industry to be talked about like even years from now?
Oh yeah, like the thing is, like, while I consider it the generation where we had the most experimental types of games, it's also going to be remembered for the generation where multiplayer popped off crazy.
Yes.
Because Call of Duty, like in its early days, you know, it was all right, but then it really took off. Like, and then you know, esports became huge. Esports wasn't really a thing; it existed, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. But it's because of Call of Duty. It's because of Battlefield, all on the 360. Like let's face it, the multiplayer, the online for the 360 is really what people talked about. And you know, in the UK, like the 360, like think about this: Microsoft went from having a console that sold okay in the UK to the most successful console of all time.
Yes, it was
in the UK.
Dude. You know how many people? Fear 2 was one of my favorite multiplayers during the 360 era, and dude, no lie, majority of my friends on my friends list that played that game with me, they're all from your neck of the woods, bro. I swear, they were all like that was hugely popular over there.
Yeah, like literally, like the UK became like just a 360 obsessed place. Like I put it like this: that there was some game stores in the UK that would only sell Xbox games, just Xbox. That's all they had, and you know, it was an interesting time because while internet was popping off, you know, for multiplayer, you know, it was a generation where like racing games became pretty huge, especially over here. Racing games have always been popular, but like the amount of different racing games people liked in the UK on that was like ridiculous. Like Test Drive may have had its problems, but people loved it. You know, Forza Horizon, Forza 4, like it's just like it's a generation where like multiplayer popped off, new games, and again, when we see remasters announced now, it trends And the remasters are always from last generation games because people love those games. Like I collect 360 games because I didn't get to play them all. There was a time where between 2009-ish to 2011 where I was playing a lot of multiplayer. I still played other games, but like I missed so many. But like, you know, thanks to backwards compatibility, and I still collect games that you can't play backwards compatible. It's just like the variety of games just is not seen now. And people will remember that. And that's one of the things people tell me constantly on Twitter. It's like, oh, they discovered this Xbox 360 game because they can. And, you know, it's so different. Like, again, we would not have a game like The Darkness today. Not at all. But the fact that people can go back and play these games, and that's what the generation is going to be remembered for. The multiplayer and the experimental like type of games.
Dude, and that's one of the reasons why I love having you as the co-host of the show, because I agree with you 110% on the multiplayer. Multiplayer absolutely blew up. Like, you know, it definitely started on the OG Xbox with Xbox Live, but it didn't really take off until the 360 came out, and they were able to market it, you know, the 360 and all the games around it with Xbox Live and online multiplayer, and it just went absolutely nuts. So, yo, Jamie, great point on that, man. I agree with you 110%. Let's bring it to the guest here. So, Clowns, what do you think? You know, in the annals of time for the console gaming industry, where do you think 360 is going to be? Do you think that it's that era is going to be talked about for years down the line? Do you think that, you know, something 360 brought to the table, or just that console in general, do you think that it gained enough of a hook that gamers years from now are going to think about it and they'll still point back to the 360 era? And if so, why do you think? What was that hook, bro?
You know, I think going back in time, I think when people in the future, I say, go back in time, they look at the gaming eras, I think they're going to look at the era of the 360 as being one of the most important mainstream eras for modern day console gaming, right? Because I think after like Super Nintendo and Genesis,
okay,
yeah, I think, you know, things started taking like a little bit of a dive, right? I mean, we saw the Dreamcast kind of fail. We saw the Sega Saturn not really pick up.
You got to stop saying other platforms. You could just point to it, but you got it. You just, I said because you said two at once, and now you're going in on more, man.
Okay. So in the modern day era of gaming, right? It's going to be remembered as something that really brought that out to the masses, to the casuals, brought it out more forward, and got more people involved. And it's our generations now. We're probably mostly in our 30s, 40s, 50s, some even in the 60s. And even my daughter goes back and she still plays some of the older games on the 360. Like, she loves the horror games from the 360 days. She just loves it, man. So she's going to be talking about it, you know, probably to her kids when she gets older, and say, hey, you got to check this out, you know? So I think it's something that's never going to be forgotten.
You got to get your daughter to play Darkness 2 then, by the way. If she hasn't played it yet, she will love that game.
Yeah, I'll get her to do that at some point.
But I mean, great points all around. I love what Jamie said about the multiplayer, because I definitely see that as a generation where multiplayer just blew up. It was an atomic bomb that just exploded. Of course, it did start again with the OG Xbox, you know, Halo 2, Xbox Live, but man, it really went mainstream with the 360 era. Not only that, a couple of things that were said before, you know, having the dashboard. And hold on, I need a drink of water real quick. There we go. I think I'm good. But the dashboard and having a presentation there. I know Jamie pointed out it was really the first kind of like the first console that came out with more than just gaming. You know, they eventually had Netflix, streaming services, stuff like that. on the 360 as well. So, not only were people using it for games, but they were using it for all their entertainment. And it, just having that generation where that all that flourished. And I had a 360, and I could still, I could watch Netflix or play Halo and not switch systems, pop in a DVD if I wanted to. Just having that entertainment, all-in-one entertainment, I thought it was a really cool thing. I think it's something that kind of defines that generation, no matter, what platform we're talking about. And I think the 360, because it started that generation, I think that's a lot of it is going to be known for that all-in-one entertainment. Again, like Jamie said, the ability, the imagination of the developers to try new things, where in today's day and age, maybe Battle Royale kind of took off, it took off a little bit, but it was more of an experiment on PC, and then came over to consoles or whatnot. But I got to agree with Jamie. I don't see developers taking too many chances anymore the way that they did during the 360 era. There were all types of games, with the indie boom and all that good stuff. I just think it was a really, really good time to be into gaming. If you were hardcore into gaming, I think the 360 era was a really pivotal time, and it was a really good time to be in that. But with that being said, we got to bring it up to today, people. And I'm going to hit you guys with a bit of controversy, okay? I'm going to hit you guys with a little bit of controversy because the Game Awards nominations came out, people. And without saying platforms, I'm going to go through the Game of the Year nominations, okay? So we have Animal Crossing, we have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. Again, without mentioning the platforms here, a lot of Xbox gamers were really upset that there was one game that I didn't mention because it was not nominated. And that would be Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I feel one of the greatest platforming games ever made. Let's go to Clowns on this one first. Let's go to our guest here. Yo, Clowns, you heard the names of the games that I said that were nominated. What do you think, bro? Do you think Xbox gamers have they have a bone to pick here? Do you think that Ori and the Will of the Wisps was snubbed when it came to at least a nomination for Game of the Year? And with that, I got to ask you, dude, did you play and beat Ori and the Will of the Wisps?
Oh, Xbox, you're going to be disappointed in me, my brother.
Oh, again?
You're going to hear that I am not one of the biggest fans of Ori, even though I think, see, listen, I am all for what you love about gaming, right? Whatever you love about gaming, I mean, that's awesome. And a lot of people love Ori, and that is awesome. Okay. It's got a great musical score. The game looks beautiful. I will have to give you that. I just couldn't get into the play style. It didn't fit, my forte. So, yeah, I'm sorry, brother. It wasn't for me.
So you don't have a feeling either way then when it comes to Ori and what kind of the gamers have been saying, the Xbox gamers have been saying about a snubbing?
I do feel that there's a snubbing. Obviously, I think that I don't know how much I can say without crossing the lines, Xbox, because I know this is the Series X podcast, and I'm learning from Crispy in the chat that you only talk about one thing here. So
I see the conversation going on in the chat as well. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think Crispy has educated me in some ways than other people. So I appreciate it, Crispy, because I did not know. So I'm sorry, Xbot. But I will say that I think that can I say the guy's name who hosts the Game Awards?
Yes, because he is not a system not called Xbox that you play games on, so it's okay.
Well, I feel like he is a system at this point. They might as well just add the chip in his head. Wow. To be honest with you,
it might already be there, actually.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a robot. Unfortunately, I think that Jeff Keighley is biased, and I know that they say there's a whole panel, and like even Phil's allegedly on the panel of the board and this and that, and I just feel like that
Phil's the one person on the
despite
panel that said Ori 2, by the way. He's the one person. Like, yep, there. Right
yeah,
there.
yeah, that's what I mean, and I just feel like that. Oh, I just feel like that it's rigged. I honestly feel like that they get the snub, and I don't know why, because Xbox has beautiful games, and I do think that the popularity of Ori, for example, and the love for Ori, it should have been included. I mean, it is a very beloved franchise for Xbox fans, and there's no reason that it couldn't compete with some of the other games on there. There's just no reason whatsoever that it shouldn't be up there. For all the things in Ori that make it a beautiful game, it got snubbed. I mean, it's obvious because they know if it was on there, people would expect it to win. So they just said,
Ooh.
"Oh, look at this Ori suggestion from Phil. Let's just throw this out, guys. Don't tell Phil." That's what I feel like, I just feel like that every time that Jeff or Geoff, however he says his name these days, I don't know the hipster term. I just feel like that he just always snubs Xbox, and I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't know why. Xbox is a beautiful ecosystem. It is very competitive with the other systems out there, and there's no reason for it to not get the same love in the eyes of big hosts like himself. I mean, he unfortunately he is very biased, despite what he might portray and what he might try to say. It's obvious at this point that because Ori's not on there, he is very biased, and the board should just kick him off as the host and put him back on the board and put somebody else up there.
He owns the awards or something. Like,
yeah,
he's the one
he
who
does.
started the whole thing, so he's not going anywhere, bro.
Shame on Spike TV for even giving him the funds to help create this thing. They destroyed the fairness in the industry. But yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it, Xbox. I don't think it's fair.
I got you. Yo, shout out to the chat. Guys, James R is a big fanboy, but not an Xbox fanboy, okay? And unfortunately, when it comes down to it, his spelling isn't that great. I'm not saying anything bad towards him. I appreciate all the support, James, but I think you might not be in the right spot right now. Like, we don't talk about other platforms on the Series X podcast. This is strictly an Xbox podcast for Xbox gamers. Now, you are more than welcome to stay and check out the show. Just don't mention any other platforms, and we're good, all right? If you want a show that talks about all the gaming news on this channel, that is every Thursday at 7 p.m. with the next podcast. But this is an Xbox only show for Xbox gamers, bro. But with that being said, let's go to, and yo, shout out, what was it, the Geeky Nerd, who said if you're talking about Game of the Year and you can only talk about Xbox, it's going to be a short conversation. We're actually even ultra focusing more, and we're talking about Ori and the Will of the Wisps and the possibility of that being snubbed. I'm not trying to have this conversation go for like 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a good talk to have with Xbox gamers, especially since a lot of Xbox gamers felt like that title got snubbed, at least for a nomination, man, because it again, one of the best platformers I have ever played is Ori and the Will of the Wisp. So I'm kind of scratching my head as to why that is not in the nomination. But I'm going to go to Jamie on this one. Now, Jamie, brother, what do you think? We have a game here. Again, side-scrolling platformer. You look at the attention to detail when it comes to the graphics. Everything hand-painted, everything hand-drawn and animated. You have a certain amount of emotion that you don't necessarily see from a side-scroller, man. Where you care about the characters. And the characters within the game, care about each other as well. Like, to me, it is such an awesome gaming experience that like touches your heart, but it's also hard as hell and challenging, man, because like if you go in and you play an Ori game, Ori 1 or Ori 2, you better plan on dying a lot. That's all I gotta say. But Jamie, what do you think about Ori 2, man? Do you think there has been a snubbing here when it comes to the VGAs? And like I kind of feel for the people that are saying this, because they're like, damn, can this game just get a nomination at least?
You know, once a week, I tend to pop off. This is going to be one of those times.
Oh, guys, get ready, guys.
So let's talk about Jeff Keighley and the Snubbosaurus Rex. So now, whether people agree or not, like, Ori's a beautiful game. The gameplay is amazing. It's a Metroidvania game, and it's really good. Now, here's the thing. I've seen people say it didn't get included because it's a side scroller. Well, so an isometric game can, like Hades. No. So why am I so angry about this? It's because it's every year. It's every year we this topic comes up about the whole, like, you know, is there been a game snubbed? Has Microsoft games been snubbed? And I've seen people wonder, why isn't Flight Simulator up for Game of the Year?
That's
because apparently it's the best flight simulator ever made. So wouldn't it be included in Game of the Year? Shouldn't it be just one little nomination? But it's not. And here's the thing: why? Because it's a flight sim. Is that one of the stipulations now? And it's just a bit weird. And here's the thing: games get snubbed all the time. Jedi Fallen Order should have been up for Game of the Year last year, but it didn't. Why? Because it missed the date. What? How is that a thing? And the thing is, this is one of the reasons why I enjoyed the Bafta Game Awards. It's because they hold it in March, so they have all the time in the world to play through all the games needed. So why is the Game Awards held in December? Is it because ad revenue is the highest? You know?
I would say it's the end of the year, man. Like, I hear where you're coming from. I hear where you're coming from with, you know, ad revenue and stuff like that. But I would say if I'm going to do an award show, I'm going to do it at the end of the year as well. That I gotta give a little bit of a pass there for December, bro.
The thing is, like, you know, the Oscars, the Emmys, all these award shows are held at the beginning of the year. That's just what makes sense to me. The Bafta Game Awards.
The previous year, then, right? Like you do it in like January. Oh, that makes sense. See, now I gotta shut my mouth more and let you talk, bro.
So the Bafta Game Awards is held in March, right? So this coming March, they'll talk about all the games that came out in 2020. To me, that's how an award show should work. So, like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla didn't get nominated, and I'm playing it, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, what? It didn't get included because it quote unquote missed a date. That's just weird. And then you watch it, and it's just ad after ad after ad. Oh, by the way, there's a sale going on. It doesn't seem like a Game Award show to me anymore. It seems more like just like a paycheck. It's just ads after ads. Oh, there's a dude dressed as a razor blade. Yay, that's got something to do with what we're talking about. It's like it's just weird. And to me, it just screams. The thing is, I get it. Jeff Keighley wants to make an award show for gamers. But why is it held at the end of the year for ad revenue? But why is it held at the end of the year when they miss out games every year? Because that's what everyone complains about. Whenever you post nominations every year, that's what people complain about. Wait, this game got snubbed, that game got snubbed, and it's always the same crap. So, like, you know, did Ori get snubbed? Yeah, it did. But again, Jedi Fallen Order, that got snubbed big time last year, just because it was like out like a day later or something. But like, it's just, to me, it doesn't look like a proper award show, because look, it's obvious that other company gets favoritism. It's obvious. And the thing is, Jeff Keighley, he sounds super excited when he talks about another platform. But when he talks about Xbox, he's even like the way the whole like March or May thing was like handled. Like, Jeff Keighley had people on that were like, yeah, I have an Xbox. I don't know why. I don't like it.
I don't know why. Yo, for real, bro.
But like, when people question him on it, it's like, oh, I want people of all sorts of opinions on. But other platforms, they did. Can you imagine if someone came out on his pre-show for another platform and said, I didn't really like the platform. I don't know why I'm here. Goodbye. Like, that wasn't a thing. The problem is that we have people in their late 20s, early 30s, hell, late 30s, early 40s that grew up with another platform as their preferred, platform, and it comes off super obvious, and it bleeds through to some game reviews, in my opinion. I'm not saying there's a media bias. I don't think there's a media bias. I just think people's preferences just come forward like really obviously, and then you look at these game awards, and it's just like. I don't know. It's like people are like, oh, why should Microsoft have Ori nominated? Because people love that game. It's highly critically acclaimed.
It is critically acclaimed.
So
Definitely.
why isn't it up there? Hades is up there, but not Ori. Come on now. I don't know. Just even though it's not a corporate event, the whole thing screams corporate. Again, they mention sales every 5 minutes during an award show. Not every single award is shown on stage because of time. But isn't that the point of an award show? To let the developers come out on stage and talk about the game they've made for years? No, some of them are just announced in text at the bottom of the screen. Or Jeff Keighley's on stage saying, hey, these past 5 awards, blah, 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 blah.
Blah,
Congratulations.
blah, 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 blah.
Now let's look at this band playing this song from a game you don't probably care about. And it's just like imagine this. Okay, right. When people watch the Oscars, outside of the cringe, talks they do, it's an award show. You don't watch the Oscars to see new game trailers, or should I say new movie trailers. Coming March, I recommend everyone listening just watch the Bafta Game Awards. That is a well done black tie event, although it's probably online this next year. But it's like a game award show where they celebrate games, and they have a presenter. Darren O'Brien, who plays video games.
What show is this called?
The Bafta Game Awards.
Bafta?
Yeah. Okay. British Academy of Arts, blah, blah. Okay. But it's a really well done event. And, they have jokes on stage. It's not cringeworthy. It's really well done. And the thing is, just the BAFTAs, to me, is how you should do an award show. And whenever I talk about Cyberpunk, by the way, when I say, oh, it looks like a Game of the Year game, people are like, wait a minute, that wasn't nominated. It's like, there's more than one award show. There's the Golden Joysticks. There's a million different award shows. It's just people, hype up this one because we get new game trailers. It's like, yay.
Just to let people know, the Golden Joysticks is Noof Nukem's favorite game awards. I'm just saying.
And that's a good award show. But it's it's just, I don't know. It's just, I think that an award show should be about the awards and not game trailers. And here's the thing, I love watching the game trailers. Guilty as charged. But to me, it just doesn't seem like a proper award ceremony. Again, games get snubbed because they missed the date. Games get snubbed because who knows? I don't know, man. It's just, I'm just annoyed.
I don't know. When it comes down to it, I think you made a great. First off, you made a great argument for Ori too. I had a phone call, but I had to pause that out. I will call that back after the show. I think you made a good argument. I think we kind of all made a good argument for Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now they in the chat they're stating it is in line for a nomination for best action game. But what I'm saying is the emotion in that game was so unexpected. The attention to detail in the game graphically and how responsive and how the performance of the game was. I think it would put it in the nomination for Game of the Year. But another thing Jamie said, Flight Simulator, which again, that it was known as the first truly next-gen game. And with what they're doing with the Azure Cloud platform and that game, and how original that is, and how the detail on that is off the charts. People are stunned playing that game. I don't know how that game would not be in nominations for Game of the Year. And Half-Life Alyx as well, which is known as the epitome, that first real, true video game set in virtual reality, that first must-play, must-experience full video game in VR. and kind of like the acclaim that brought about as well. And that game's not nominated. So when I look at it across the board here, I do think that 3 games could have easily been slotted in here, and 3 games could have been easily taken out when it came to the nominations for Game of the Year. So, Jamie, I really like what you said about the Flight Simulator as well, because when you go back and you look at it, highly regarded. People who did reviews on that game, they're like, oh my goodness, I can't even describe like what it felt like and what it looked like when I was playing that game. So that's a huge shout out to you for that one. Let's move on to another thing, an interesting topic here, and I call it interesting because Jamie, you know me, I'm a huge fan of the Series S, and Clowns, I think I've told that to you as well. I've gone on record saying that the Series S, for the price point and what it is probably the most underrated platform that's out that's called quote unquote next gen. For $300, you're getting ray tracing, you're getting 120 frames per second. Of course, you're getting lower resolutions, but you're getting graphical detail that is still on par with the Series X, which is $200 more. But for some rhyme or reason, everybody talks about the Series X, and I gotta shout out Time Magazine for basically putting the Series S, not the X, Series S, as one of the most innovative inventions of 2020. And I want to read this real quick for you guys, because what they do is they bring Game Pass into this. So let me just read this for you real quick, and then we'll get into it. The tech giant's new video game console, talking about Microsoft, is more than just a next-gen gaming device. It's the basis for what could become the Netflix of video games. The Series S's secret weapon is Game Pass, a subscription service where new hits like Halo Infinite will appear the same day as their traditional release. And those games will look even sharper. The Series S is $299 and can run high-resolution games at 120 frames per second, a 100% increase over its predecessor, the Xbox One. What's more, because there is no disk drive, the Series S operates almost silently, making it all the easier to concentrate on the action. And that is by Matthew Gault, and that is Time Magazine. Time Magazine put in their list of most innovative inventions the Series S. Jamie, again, I'm almost like a Series S fanboy. Like, even if I had the money, I think I would get the Series S before the X first, because I wanna experience what you would get at that $300 to even less when you consider trade-ins and stuff like that. That price point, and to get ray tracing and stuff like that. What do you think about Time Magazine putting it on their list of most innovative inventions, man? Are you excited, bro?
It makes sense for that to go on there. It's a cheap little ray tracing box. Like, and whenever I've talked about like the Series X, like getting optimized games, I tend to leave out the S just because it's quicker saying just X. That's me being lazy. But like, this is the cheapest way into ray tracing ever. Like, to put it like this, to get ray tracing on a PC, you're looking at at a push $1,000. Like that's the realistic part. Like, so for the fact that you can get this little tiny Xbox for just £250/$299, this little ray tracing box, it's just impressive. And the thing is, up to 120 frames per second games are a thing on this box. Like, so like it makes sense. And again, during a time like this, like in 2020, where the economy's a bit weird. Not everyone wants to splash out $500 for a console at this time of the year. Yeah. But this little box is still a viable option. And it's still going to get next gen games longer than the one, So yeah, it makes sense. And plus, how often have we had generations? We've had different kinds of consoles. So with the 360, we had the arcade, which didn't have a hard drive, and we had the one with the bigger hard drive, 20 gigabytes. What a monster! But it's like this is just a smaller, different option, and it's new because we while we have had variants of the same console, we haven't had a completely different box, with different power and different costs to this, manner. So it makes sense because again, in a time where people probably want to move up to next gen quicker, this is probably the quickest way and literally is the cheapest way into the Xbox ecosystem right now. And for people that have never even gamed before, or people that just wants to get into gaming, this is the easiest way to get into it. And then you have to look at things like Football Manager. I know a lot of Americans listening, but trust me, Football Manager in Europe is huge, and it's finally coming to console again. And that little Xbox Series X, or should I say S, see, I did it again. That's going to be the cheapest way to play Football Manager, is just buy the little box, and then you're good to go. So to me, yeah, it makes sense. And plus, that with Game Pass is ridiculous. I can see that being a huge Christmas gift for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So,
and of course, the all entertainment in one as well. You're looking at, a $300 system. Again, trade-ins and stuff like that could easily bring you down to $100 for a Series S. All in one, your Disney Plus, your Netflix, your subscription services. I'm a fan of Sling TV as well when it comes to actually watching TV channels. I use Sling, and all that put together for this system. And yes, like I said, $300, but with trade-ins and stuff like that, could bring it down to $100 if you have enough to trade in for. Dude, to me it absolutely amazes me that they got that performance. You're getting the ray tracing. Yes, you're getting lower resolutions, but you're getting so much more in terms of graphical fidelity and stuff for such an entry-level price point. I'm surprised that more people are not singing the praises of the Series S. You know what I'm saying, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's weird because we couldn't talk about the performance of the Series X because we couldn't talk about specs or power. And the second Microsoft offers a cheaper option, that's it is literally weaker, but we all know that. People either don't talk about it or make fun of it. It's you can't win, apparently. But to me, it's definitely a positive thing to talk about because again, it's just an option. And to me, I know people that's getting an S now, people that didn't plan on buying next generation consoles just yet. So again, it's just a more viable product for millions of people.
Nice, brother. We got to get Clowns again. The one of the four guys, man. Four guys with quarters. Clowns. What do you think here? You got Time magazine, and of course, Time. They're about the times. They're about what's going on in the world. That's what they report on. For people who don't know, for some rhyme or reason don't know, Time magazine is not a gaming magazine, but to hear a magazine like that who's all about what's going on in the world and put the Series S, not even the Series X that everybody's talking about, but the Series S as one of the most innovative inventions of 2020. Clowns, what do you think about that, bro? And what do you think about the Series S, man? Do you hear where I'm coming from? I feel like people are just kind of passing over on this thing, and I'm like, yo, do not sleep this system. It will come back to haunt you a couple years down the line when you see how many people actually have a Series S and are enjoying it, man. I think Xbox and Microsoft, they have something here with this entry level system, bro.
Yeah, I have to agree. First off, I want to ask you guys, if you guys hear any background noise, let me know. I have a noise suppression on Xbox through NVIDIA. So let me know if you hear any background noise so I could try and fix it.
Oh, I will, bro.
I want to say this. I think that the Series S is Xbox Series S is a great invention. I agree with Time Magazine. It is the perfect entry point for most casual gamers and people that could not afford a Series X right now in this economic COVID climate. There's a lot of factors why this console is perfect for right now. One, the price point. It's going to bring in a lot of casuals, a lot of parents struggling right now through the economic downturns of the economy. If they can't afford something that is priced very reasonable, plus you got the Xbox All Access program. So when they want to think of a Christmas present and they can't afford to buy a lot of the games, why not get the Xbox Series X and then get into Game Pass?
Yo, do you remember the Series S? Do you remember how much that is all access? I believe the Series X is like $35 a month. Isn't the Series S like, I want to say like $10 cheaper or so? Like, isn't it like between $20 $25 a month for the Series S?
Yep.
Dude,
and that comes
go
with 2
wrong
years
with
of
that.
Game Pass.
You cannot go wrong with that, bro.
No, you can't. And in this economy right now, with Christmas, I mean, with the holidays coming up, so, a lot of people celebrate Christmas. There's other holidays with gift giving. This is perfect. This really is perfect in this economy. So when Time named this the invention of the year, it's like it fits every category for an invention that you want at this right time in modern society. You're getting next generation at an excellent entry point. You're getting it at a very affordable price. It comes with a ton of games if you get Game Pass. You don't even have to worry about buying the games. And there's so much power packed into the little box that I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm actually thinking about when I get the opportunity and we see more Series S's on the shelves, I'm thinking about picking up one or two if I can afford it and putting one in the living room and one in the bedroom so I can game, everywhere in this house, because I don't need to have the Series X on every TV. I don't go out and buy those OLEDs and expensive TVs. I mean, I got 4K TVs, yes, but are they like top of the line? No, I bought them on sale for like $200-300. So why not throw a Series S on that? You know what I mean? It's perfect. It's great. And Time Magazine knows what they're doing, man. Phil knows what he's doing. This is the best generation for gaming going forward. I can't tell you how excited I am inside. Like, if I'm so excited inside right now, guys, that if Toys R Us was to announce reopening, I'd feel like a kid all over again. Those are the butterflies I get from the Series S. Like, that's how great of a deal I think it is in gaming. And it's just, I mean, the competition can't even match that. I won't name the consoles, naming them.
Yeah,
I won't name them.
Crispy wanted to Thor you before. He wanted to banhammer your ass, man.
Yeah, Crispy. I love you, bro. I'll get you. I'll get you in gear sometime. You can't match my skill.
Man. Crispy is the hardest working man on this podcast every single Sunday, yo. I got to give a shout out to my brother Crispy Bomb, holding it down in the chat. And yo, Jamie, you know what? Dude, I haven't had to cut you off for a bunch of super chats tonight, man. I don't know if you feel good about that or what, but I haven't had to do that to you tonight, dude.
People need to do more. I'll just say that.
But yo, no, clowns, I 100% agree with you. And again, like, I feel a lot of times, especially in this community, right? YouTubers will talk about their own personal preference when it comes to things. Like when I bring up the Series S, like to such and such YouTuber in this community, they'll be like, well, I got a Series X. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, it's not about just you. If you're a YouTuber, then there's a community of people that you got to kind of think about and report on things as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about your preference. If you're out there trying to give kind of like gaming news and stuff like that to an audience, you got to think about your audience. You got to think about the gamers out there that are listening to your channel, the potential new subscribers as well. And you can't just give your preference all the time. And with the Series S, there's so many positives there. And the funny thing is, There's no disk drive, which some people are reporting that the Series X might have an issue with its disk drive. So there's no disk drive on the Series S. So you don't have to deal with that issue. It's a couple $100 cheaper. What you said about all access, with it being like, being like $20, $25 a month, that's absolutely insane right there. To the point where I got to look into that for possibly getting a Series S, because I think I could definitely swing, $20, $25 a month, because it comes with Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass the entire time that you are paying for the system. So you don't have to think about paying for Gold or Game Pass. It's all rolled into one bundle for $20, $25 a month.
And
go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Xbox, but isn't that Game Pass Ultimate?
Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month. So for $10 more a month, you get a whole next-gen system to play it on. Dude,
well, yeah, I mean the
Xbox
All Access. I think that comes with Ultimate.
Oh, it might. I think it does too. I think it does as well. So yeah. So if you look at it, $15 a month, you get is Xbox Ultimate which also has Xbox Live Gold, right? So for $10 more a month, if you can get into All Access with a Series S, you're only paying $10 a month for a next gen system. Dude, that's insane. If you're already paying for Ultimate Game Pass, it's only $10 more per month, and you're automatically getting that and the system. Dude, that's a no-brainer to me, yo. No-brainer. I don't know, Jamie, what do you think about that? Is that good math, bro?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. In most territories, you can get it interest-free, which I don't even know how they manage to do these deals with, like, places like GameStop, and Game. Like, I have no idea, but, like, again, interest-free, an Xbox Series S or X or whatever for 2 years with, Game Pass Ultimate, and then you have your gold, and, like, yeah, it's an insane deal. And then you have to think about how many people play 1 or 2 games a year. How many of those people want to play in 4K? Probably not a lot. So, again, this option is for them. Literally a box made for them. And it's cheaper. So, yeah, like, again, you can't really go wrong with it. And here's the thing. Only in gaming I see what I'm about to say. And it's that people want to put others down for buying something that's cheaper, or getting, like, do the whole, like, all access thing. And to me, that's always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, people should never put someone else down for that, for, picking the cheaper option, or, wanting to, like, pay monthly. Like, no, don't watch how other people spend the money. It's like, let people spend money how they want. But it's gamers, I see, put other people down for this. And it's kind of disgusting in a way, but, like, yeah, again, it's a good option.
Brother, there is no shame in my game, man. When it comes down to it, I think that's one thing, people who subscribe to this channel know, people like Jamie and clowns that know me, even behind the scenes and whatnot. As long as I'm getting a quality experience in terms of my gaming, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't need to have all the shiny bells and whistles, absolutely completely to the top. I don't need to have the most premium system. As long as I'm getting what I want out of my games as a gamer, I am happy. And with what I'm seeing from the Series S, this little sucker packs a punch. And another thing is little sucker as well, because I love the form factor of the Series X. Trust me. I think it's really cool, that monolith kind of like look to it, how it just kind of blends into an entertainment system. Now, people can say whatever they want about the shape, but it really does. It's a minimalistic kind of like look to it that is meant to just kind of blend in wherever it is, and it does that really well. But the Series S is so freaking small. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it in real life or anything like that. That sucker is so small. It is incredible to think what they put underneath the hood of that thing. For anybody out there who got a Series S and is happy with it, you know what, guys? Don't even think about what anybody else is saying about the Series X or anything. Celebrate that you got your gaming experience and you got a next gen experience because it comes with ray tracing. It has the reduced load times. It has that velocity architecture inside the hardware as well. You're rocking the SSD. Not only that, but the games come in on at a smaller size when you download it on the Series S. So the games come in on a smaller size. So even though the SSD doesn't have as much room, doesn't have as much storage in it, the games are significantly smaller when you're loading them onto the SSD, making it comparable to its bigger brother, its human growth hormone brother, the Series X. I just think it is a really, really good deal. And I'm going to keep saying it, guys. You guys are probably going to get tired of hearing me say it, but I think Microsoft and Xbox did an absolutely amazing thing when it comes to the Series S. Now, with that note, clowns, Jamie, I am going to switch the subject, and I am going to switch to something I have been dying to talk about either on this show or on next podcast. And we didn't get to it on this past week's next podcast, so I am bringing it to next podcast this coming Thursday as well. But I wanted to talk about it with you guys. And this is something that, if there are diehard Xbox extremists in the chat, you might get upset with me about this. If there are people in the chat who get into console wars and they fight with people from other platforms on why the Xbox is better, you guys might not be too happy with me tonight, because there has been an argument going on about the Series X. And the argument is about native resolution. It seems that Xbox diehards, like the people that, are out there, they feel like they're in a war and they're on the front lines and they have to defend this piece of plastic right here, are using basically a word, a number, and a letter a lot. Native 4K. I see it so much on social media. And, when I look at it, the native 4K thing, to me, I don't think it's something to even argue about, really. Because I am in that camp that it is up to the developers and how they're developing the game, to develop the game the way that they feel they have to get the most, to get that experience out there that they want the gamers and the consumers to take part in. And to me, when it comes down to it, if they sacrifice native 4K on a powerful system like the Series X, if they go in and they make it 1440p, upscale to 4K, now hear me out, guys, but they add more graphics to the game. They add more to the graphics, which are the end-all, be-all to how the game looks. Or they add more elements to the gameplay, which they can do, because 4K can be incredibly taxing when you're developing a game, right? If they decided to go 1440p, upscale to 4K, to add graphics or gameplay elements, you know what I'm going to tell them as a gamer? Do it. Do it. I would rather see the better lighting. I would rather see the better graphics. I would rather have the better gameplay than that tagline that is called native 4K. Now, Jamie, I'm going to go to you on this one, man. I know you're out there on social media, and I know there's people who love to follow you and love to hate you and follow you on Twitter. So I know you see all sides of the spectrum here. Dude, what do you think about this argument here? The Xbox guys, extremists, kind of going in and like, well, it's native 4K and it's native 4K. And like, do you feel the way they do? Like, native 4K is something that should be championed or cheered for, or should be expected? Or do you see what I'm saying here, that if the developer decides to go like 1440p, but they add to the graphics or they add to gameplay elements, I would rather have them do that than just go native 4K for that tagline, man. What do you think, bro?
I mean, it's a weird topic because like I never used to care about resolution, and the thing is like during this generation, and I think is I wouldn't necessarily just say Xbox extremists because like for how many years this generation 3 did we have resolution shoved in our faces? You went on Twitter every day or Facebook or whatever, and you'd have fanboys of the other platform constantly posting Digital Foundry
check
stuff
this
about
out.
resolution.
I'm glad you said that, Jamie. I'm glad you said that, and you can hear my excitement because then the argument for those extremists out there, again, those people who feel they're on the front lines and they're fighting a war, right? Those people would be like, but resolution doesn't matter. It's about the gameplay. Oh, resolution is different than graphics, though. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the thing is, like, for 3 years, no matter what game it was, I could tweet saying, hey, I'm playing Arkham Knight. Do you know what most of the replies were? LOL, 900p. This went on for 3 years, so it's understandable why people might want to rub it in. But I still think people should be classy to the point where you don't have to do it all the time. Like, for me, I didn't care about resolution until I stepped out of the pyramid or temple in Assassin's Creed Origins, because to that point, you know, I'd played games up to 1080p, nothing higher. So, like, I stepped out, and I think that was like 1600p or something. But I was like, oh, this is very clean.
Oh.
And then Red Dead Redemption, like, to me, that's probably the best looking game ever made. And that game runs at full 4K. The developer did what they wanted. They got the game where they wanted to. And to me, that's the best looking game ever made. It's still 4K. So there will be developers that will go for resolution, but like the thing is, they can't make Red Dead Redemption look any better than it is unless it's got the physics stuff. But that's where you need the CPU to come in, and the One X doesn't have the CPU, so it's like it's all over the place. But think about it like this: like for 3 years, I was constantly told resolution. Hey, guess what, guys? Resolution. So when Microsoft came out with this One X, I was like, oh, these games look clear. So when I go back to all the games now, I'm like, it does look a bit blurry. Because for comparison, I never saw anything higher. So let's look at Rage. Rage runs at 1080p, 60 frames per second. And that game, to me, looks blurry as hell. I don't know if they've got a special filter over the image, but the game looks blurry. It's got Vaseline over the screen.
Bad picture.
And to me, when I played that game, I was thinking, why can't there be a 4K option? Because that game, while it looks good, I can't think and say, oh, well, they couldn't have gone any higher. You know, and yeah, there are people online that will still go out and like find, you know, Xbox doing things better than the other platform. But the thing is, I'm to the point where like, if a game's announced as 4K and I'm like, ooh, cool, because I like the 4K. Like The Witcher 3, we have an option. I think it's like dynamic 4K at 60 or locked 30 at 60. I picked locked 30 at 60 because I used to feel that open world games, I should say locked 4K at 30. I used to think that open world games weren't necessarily needed at 60 frames. And then I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that is a dynamic 4K at 60, and I'm like, the gameplay is so freaking smooth. And while it does top out at 4K, you don't really notice it when it drops because, you know, it's always when there's action going on, you're in the moment. But, like, yeah, there's always going to be people online going, hey, my dick's bigger than yours.
Pretty much.
That's all. Yeah, that's always going to be the thing. So, like, and the thing is, I see less people online talk about resolution than they did years ago, where every single game, like, we had a thing called Resolution Gate. One, that's cringe. Two, why was that a thing? Like, the thing is, like, another thing is, I find some Digital Foundry videos informative. I like their retro stuff when they talk about the Mega Drive and that. But it's like, it's crystal clear that, like, every single game that's early in the generation was just used as a ploy for people to make fun of the platform. So yeah, people do tend to, you know, go, oh, well, Xbox has this advantage, I'll talk about it. But it's always going to be that way for platforms. You know, I don't think it's as bad as you might think. I just think it's like...
I see it a lot, bro. I do see it a lot. I'm just saying.
The thing is, it just depends on who you follow, isn't it? Like, I'm following like 2,500 people or something like that. And I barely see people.
Let me see while you're talking. I'm gonna see how many people I'm following, man. I gotta. Let me.
And I
Okay.
barely see people talk about it, but I do. Yeah.
My bad. I'm following 1,703 people.
Right. Well, it just depends on who you follow. But the thing is, do you know what I see people mention most? About wanting things. People wanting ray tracing. People wanting higher frames. People do wanting 4K. But the thing is, it's always going to be the way. Like, we've seen other platforms get games that perform better, and that's all over the place because they can. It's always going to be that way. So there's nothing we can do about it. Like, we were told for 3 years, and society was told for 3 years that, hey, we have to talk about resolution.
But hold on, Jamie, real quick. And again, a shout out to my brother Griffin Gaming, who, again, when he was on Twitter, I did not realize he followed me and who he was. But shout out to him. Absolutely love his videos that he makes on YouTube. Again, I am about that same energy, though. You're saying that we were told resolution. What was the Xbox extremist rebuttal to resolution at that time? Because I was one of those people. I am to this day still one of those people that stand by what I said during that whole resolution gate. I'm like, resolution does not mean everything. It is not the end all be all. It is not even a part of graphics. All right, graphics and resolution are two separate things. They're two separate things that are done at two separate times from the developers developing games. So, again, Jamie, you're saying that we were told this for so many years, and you are absolutely right with that. But what was the rebuttal that everybody was using at that point in time?
That it's about the games, but that's when I was but that's when I was told to shut up. I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, you're not wrong, because now they're using your argument that you were using years ago. So you should feel pretty vindicated that you were right all those years, brother.
I don't really care.
I'm just saying.
The thing is, like I said, it's always going to be a thing with the back and forth, right? We saw with that racing game, Dirt 5, right? Mm-hmm. Another platform has slightly better performance, and their fanboys are slinging it back. It's always going to be a thing. Can you remember blast processing in the 90s? Like, yes. that was thrown around. Like, it's literally
Sonic
always going to be the case.
Because of that.
Hell, I've seen people with 3090s go at people with 3080s, or should I say 2080s. It's like, it's always going to be the case for gaming. But for me, like, again, I didn't care about resolution until I stepped out of that bloody pyramid. And because I didn't get it. I never thought, oh, this game looks blurry. I never once ever thought that. But then I was offered a console with higher, resolution capabilities. And now, when I see a game in a store, the first thing I check is to see what its resolution is. Not because I need it to be 4K. It's because, let's face it, 720p is blurry. It is.
Oh my
goodness. No matter what game I play now, it doesn't have to be enhanced. Hell, I play a lot of 360 games, most of which aren't even 720p, by the way. But if I play a modern game now, if you go to a store and see a game that you think, oh, that looks cool, and then you download it and play it, and it's like, why is it this blurry? And the thing is, the majority of the people who push the narrative to the forefront are responsible for it. So, yeah, maybe I was influenced by people pushing, the narrative. But at the end of the day, I discovered I liked 4K games because of Microsoft's offering of a 4K console. And today, I was playing Gears Tactics in 4K 60. And it's like, okay. And if you've played it, like, the graphics in that game look amazing.
That yet, though. I'm not big into RTS, but I will try that because, yeah, you're right. Graphically, dude, the amount of detail that's in that game when they do a close-up of the player models and stuff like that, wow, that's eye candy right there, bro.
Yeah, and the thing is about Gears
Tactics.
The thing about Gears Tactics is, right, a lot of people think it's an RTS. It's not. It's a turn-based strategy, but at the same time, turn-based strategy games don't look good. Like, I'm an XCOM fan, and you're getting these kind of like bubbly kind of cartoony graphics, just because that's the art style. And plus, these types of games are CPU intensive as hell. So when you play Gears Tactics, it looks like a Gears game graphically, but the camera's pulled out because it's a tactic game. But again, you can choose whether you want 30 frames to 60 frames cutscenes. But for a game like that, whether being turn-based, it doesn't really need to be 60 frames because of it's being turn-based, but yet it still looks so good. But again, like back to the whole quote-unquote extremist thing, it's always going to be the case with people like back and forth on Twitter. Hell, like do you know yesterday I posted just a random tweet about an Xbox game. I can't remember what it was, but someone replied to me saying that Xbox doesn't have a next-generation controller. Just because another platform changed theirs, that's what a narrative is now. That's a narrative shift.
But dude, they say that to piss you off and to get you to respond. Like and that's one thing I don't get. I don't know, like, and Jamie, I know you're an awesome dude. I'm not saying anything bad about you or anybody out there. I just don't know why people fall for it all the time. Like, somebody says something like that, I'm like, okay, cheers, and I keep going with whoever is truly getting into what I tweeted out there, the comment I put in. I'll talk to those people because I know that people are going to try to troll. I know people are going to try to piss people off, and they want you to respond. They want to dictate the narrative, and they want to control your responses and get you pissed off, man. Like, and I don't understand why more people don't realize that and say, you know what, I don't really care what you think,
my block list is over 800. Like, the thing is, people don't get to me. The reason I subtweet that stuff is because I throw people to the hounds and let other people deal with it.
Release the hounds.
Like this person didn't annoy me. I just thought what he said was stupid. I'm going to subtweet this so the 9,000 plus people that follow me can see this dumb, tweet, and then they can have a go at them while I eat.
Yo, clowns! I think Jamie was just flexing right there with that 9,000. You're just flexing a little bit, like But,
no, there's a decent amount of porn bots, like.
Brother, you are awesome, man. You are awesome. But dude, we got to get clowns in on this because I think I don't know. He might be chomping at the bit here. He might really want to go in on this because these are things that I don't think a lot of people talk about in a kind of like an even keeled manner. Like, you'll have one side that hates Xbox that will just go in on this topic and really in a bad way and not think about things. And you have other people that absolutely love Xbox that will completely avoid this topic whatsoever. They won't touch it with a 10-foot pole and K mega pushing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just won't touch it whatsoever. So, clowns, the whole 4K thing, man, and I know you've seen it out there. And what I'm saying is, if a developer decides, because if they take all that system writing, that all that development space, that the memory needed to make sure that a game runs native 4K, if they take that all, they make the game 1440 and they upscale it to 4K and they add to the graphics, they add even better lighting, they add ray tracing at a bigger perimeter before it goes to screen space reflections, or they add to gameplay mechanics that they wouldn't otherwise have if they had to write in for native 4K. Like, clowns, what side of that fence are you on, man? Are you with me? Like, yo, if they want to go 1440 and they want to add more to the game like that, I am completely down. Or do you think native 4K is something that should be aimed for? It should be targeted, and it's something that people out there can kind of claim in terms of Xbox games being, possibly better than anything else out there?
I think on this one, to be honest with you, Xbox, I'm on your side. I think the dev should have the right to choose what they want to do. It's their game. If you don't want to play it, then don't play it. But I think all this talk about, everything's got to be, native 4K now because I got this 4K, UHD, OLED, QLED, 120 frames per second, Master Beast, $1,800 TV or $3,000 TV. So everything's got to be to the max specs. I mean, come on, guys, get real here, right? Like, I mean, how much can the human eye actually see? And that's a whole nother debate. But do you really sit there with a like a fine toothpick and comb and a needle and a haystack, and you're looking like at every single pixel, and you're like,
got that magnifying glass out right next to the screen, like
that's 3.9999K with wow, ray tracing's got a pixel off. Oh my gosh, this developer's so bad. Oh, he's so bad. Come on, get real. I still enjoy games that are retro throwbacks on the Xbox that do 16-bit retro pixel games. I still enjoy those. I think that if the game is immersive, the game is creative, the game has a great story, the game has a good enough graphics for you to enjoy it, and the game appeals to you, you feel like it talks to you, it gives you that feel that you're in the game, then enjoy the game regardless if it's native 4K or Fox 4K or if it's upscaled 4K or heck, even if it's 2K. Who cares? If you're having fun with the game, should it really matter that they show off the full aspects of the system? Because I'm going to tell you something here. I'm going to be honest with you. I think developers should take their time leveling themselves out before they reach the max, because these consoles that came out are just brand new. And if they push these things to the max immediately, then everybody is going to start wanting 8K because nothing is ever good enough. Everybody wants the next best thing every single damn time. So why not just sit back and enjoy what you got, have fun with it, and just be glad that you have something to experience such power already. It doesn't have to be, 4K 60 frames per second. Why not play in 1080p at 120 frames per second? I mean, what's the big deal? Do you really have? I mean, when we grew up Xbox, we had 480p televisions.
Yo, for real.
And you know what? Did we sit there with a pixel and look at every 16-bit or 32-bit and be like, yeah, this is not really 32-bit. It's not cutting it. Yeah, no, this is not. Nope, this is not 32-bit.
Unacceptable.
I have a rebuttal because I think people misunderstand me. I don't think developers should be forced to make something they don't want. That's not what I meant. My point is that, okay, the film Alien is one of my favorite films of all time.
Oh,
right?
Me too.
And I have that film on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K Blu-ray. Do you know which one I watch currently? The 4K Blu-ray, because it looks better. Now, if something is how it is, that's fine. But let's say, okay, Mass Effect, my favorite game of all time. I've played that 10 times. And every single time I've played it has been 720p. So it's clear that I don't need, quote unquote, the resolution to be 4K, 60 frames, ray tracing, HDR. I don't need that. My point is that we just hit a new generation of consoles. If I play something like Arkham Knight, yes, it has HDR now, but it still looks blurry. It's not going to make the experience a no play for me. It's just the fact that, don't you want better? Isn't that the point of a new generation? I don't want developers to get new hardware and go, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice performance and graphics for resolution. That's not what I want.
And see,
I just want a game that looks good.
No, Jamie, real quick, because I want to feed off what you're saying there. Now, first off, I got to give a shout out to Stubbs Gaming, putting in the first super chat of the night, brother. Thank you so much for the support. Yo, I got confetti popping. There's just champagne bottles. Yo, I'm getting drenched right now. Thank you, brother. Thank you. He says, what's up, Xbox? Great panel and show, guys. And I think, I am having an absolute blast doing this show tonight with Jamie and Clowns. It is we got an all-star panel right now. Now, Jamie, I I like what you're saying about, not sacrificing, either graphics or gameplay elements, to hit that native 4K. But one thing I am going to say, Jamie, and I'm going to put this to Clowns too, so both of you guys can answer this, kind of like back to back here. We're all professionals. You guys know when to chime in, all that good stuff. Don't you guys think that with all the clamoring about native 4K, I know developers are out there on social media, and they're looking at what the gamer/consumer wants. Don't you think that these developers, they are getting pressured? They're feeling pressured by the consumer base, by the gaming community. The more and more that people are like native 4K, even though they could make their game, like I said, a little bit lower, 1440, upscaled, and they can add to their graphics or the gameplay mechanics and really flesh out what they might want to give to the consumer. But since there are so many people out there clamoring about resolution, which started in Resolution Gate, Jamie, you are not wrong about that. It started with 1080p, which does not make you a better gamer, by the way. But don't you think the developers out there, those studios, they're feeling the pressure that they kind of have to aim for that native 4K, which is why we're seeing, the scaling resolutions in games and stuff now, where it can hit 4K, but then when so much stuff is happening, it drops down. And don't you think that they came up with this whole thing because of the pressure out there within the gaming community about native resolutions?
No, I don't see this push for 4K that you keep mentioning. Like, there's people that want higher resolution. Like me, for instance, I said I like 4K, but most of the games I play aren't 4K. So I'm not on Twitter complaining about it. In fact, I don't see people complaining on Twitter for that at all. I'm seeing people wanting patches for broken games. I'm seeing people want 60 frames in games that aren't there. I'm seeing people that want 60 frames in a game like Watch Dogs. Like, that's what I'm seeing online. I can only speak to what I'm seeing.
So what if they lowered the resolution for that? Do you think that people would be hooting and hollering over the resolution not being quote unquote, what some people are saying next gen, which would be 4K? Like, upscaling is crazy right now.
Next gen to me isn't 4K.
Okay.
Next gen to me is graphics. Yes. And we have games with fun. This is the thing. This is a bit of a skewed topic because, like, I say I like 4K games, and I do. But like I've said, like, the higher frames in Assassin's Creed is amazing. I see people wanting two different things for Watch Dogs. I'm seeing people want 60 frames as an option, and I'm seeing people wanting like 4K, like with the ray tracing as an option. But that's there, and it's like I don't think it's as black and white as forcing developers to do 4K and people screaming on Twitter for 4K. I'm seeing people wanting games that aren't broken. Like, again, we have Xbox Series X's and S's. I'm guessing it's the same with the S's. But we have consoles at the minute that can't even do game capture. That's what I see people arguing for.
Yeah, well, game capture, yeah, definitely.
Like again, I can't post videos. I can't make content with like gameplay because the DVR's whack.
Oh, don't worry. I'll give you some Xbox One X gameplay. You'll be good to go. You just put my name in the corner somewhere saying it's my gameplay. We're good, okay?
It's just that like, I don't see it as this arguing thing on Twitter for resolution. I never see people talk about resolution on Twitter. The only time I see people talk about resolution on Twitter is when I post a game being optimized or not. And I've been doing this for years. Is a game enhanced for One X? I'll post it because I post gaming news. But I don't see people arguing with developers on Twitter for resolution. And when it comes to 4K 60, we have more games launching this generation with 60 frames than any other generation before. And I don't see 4K as this thing being pushed. I'm saying 60 frames is a thing being pushed. Performance, the thing that matters the most. And again, back to the whole entertainment thing. Like I said, I like 4K. So sue me. But the thing is, it's why I find it
4K, and I cannot lie. You others can't deny.
It's like Smallville. I loved Smallville, right? The problem is that the early seasons, the way the CG was done, you can only watch them on DVD, really. In the UK, you can only really watch them on DVD. And the special effects were done in below standard definition and on DVD on a 4K television where it's stretching everything to 4K. It looks absolutely horrendous. So I can watch blurry, Smallville with horrendously, even blurrier special effects because that's the way it was done. But like with Star Trek, it goes the same thing. I can watch the blurry ass versions, or I can watch the updated Blu-ray version with the 1080p special effects. Do you know which one looks better? The one with the 1080p special effects, and that's the one I'm going to watch. But that's just a preference thing. That everyone's different. My brother doesn't care about 4K when he games. I like gaming in 4K because games look sharp. I have a 4K telly, But like, I don't see people arguing on Twitter about resolution.
That's
at
okay.
all.
You know what I'm gonna do, Jamie. You know what I'm gonna do. If I can remember throughout this week coming, whenever I see anything in my feed of people like, and it's not necessarily arguing with developers because I don't think developers just look at what's aimed at them as well. I think they look at social media as a whole. I know Xbox does that. As a platform, P3, people who work at Xbox, they don't just look at what's tweeted at them. You know what I'm saying? They look at their feed, the stuff that people who are they're following and stuff like that. So if I remember, Jamie, anytime I see somebody arguing about Xbox is better because of native 4K and stuff, I am gonna send that in our DM between me and you, so this way you can see it. And like, if I can remember, if I can do that enough, because I only have so much time throughout the week. Hopefully, then you can see that there is an argument out there. People trying to claim that 4K native 4K is like this end all be all, which to me it isn't. And I think at the end of the day, Jamie, you're saying that as well. And I really like this between us, Jamie, because we're not gonna 100% agree on on everything. You know what I'm saying? And I think this shows a good kind of like a good stabilization between my thought process, your thought process, and how we can come together on one show, but we're still gonna voice our different opinions about what we love to play on. And I think it's really good. Kind of like back and forth that's going on between us. I do want to get Clowns in here on this, though. So, Clowns, you heard what I said. Out there on social media, people talking about the whole native 4K thing. Don't you think that, and it started with 1080p, during the Xbox One generation, and it's kind of snowballed as the generation went on, going into now the Series X. Don't you think that these development studios, these developers, if they're on social media, I got to see that they have some pressure on them to try to hit that mark because of what is going on in the gaming community on social media, what the people are arguing over. Do you see that as well, or do you think that do you think that I'm just looking too deep into this, man?
No, you're right. I mean, people argue over ridiculous stuff on Twitter. I mean, you remember the whole Puddlegate thing, and now the whole ray tracing.
I was a part of Puddlegate, by the way. My bad.
Yeah, it's all right, X-Bond. Let bygones be bygones,
yeah,
right?
Hey, dude, I gotta be real. I am 100%. I am 100% honest with my subscribers. I was a part. I pointed out that puddle as well in Spider-Man, bro.
But, I mean, I just think that these developers should not be pressured to add extra resources to their games that maybe, one, they might not be capable of at the moment, or they might not have the extra people on hand to help develop these things to get their game out on time, or they might not have the funds to do all this. I just say let developers put out what they want. And this is no intention towards Jamie. I know that he loves his 4K and he's made that clear, but I just think that for me as a gamer personally, it doesn't matter to me if I'm playing in 1080p, 4K, Fox K, 2K, upscale 4K, dynamic 4K, native 4K. HDR10, HDR.
Hey, don't mess with HDR is needed. Okay, don't you dare play with me.
Listen,
don't do it.
Excellent. We'll go back down to 720, bro.
Hey, just give me that HDR and we're good. I don't give a shit.
The real HDR is back in those pixelated days of the 16-bit era. That is when the sprites look like that HDR, real.
At that HDR,
that look like
in
real
Tetris
HDR
Effect
to me.
Looks really good, by the way. I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. I just think that I just think that too many people on Twitter, too many trolls, are putting too much pressure on developers. And when I say like that, I think that we really don't need all this crazy push for 4K. I'm not talking about realistic, genuine guys like Jamie. I'm talking about on Twitter. There's thousands of trolls and bots that will mimic one person over and over again. And one guy might be like, your game is not native 4K, and then negative comment, and then all of a sudden like 800 retweets and comments on that.
Yeah.
And it's not like guys like Jamie who legitimately enjoys 4K. It's these guys that just want developers to push their stuff to the limits. And I just don't think it's needed, man. Because you know what? To be realistic with you guys, 8K TVs are here. They're here already, right? They're going to be affordable within the next, probably 6 months. But we don't have content.
I was thinking 3 years, and he's 6 months.
No, the last 8K TV that I looked at was already down to $5,000. They're starting to come down to the prices where 4K was at the beginning of the generation of 4K. So 8K is already coming, right? We don't even have content on cable networks or on Fios that pushes 8K yet. We don't even have these consoles. They may say they could push 8K, but the size of what 8K would be like? So imagine if people all of a sudden started getting 8K TVs and then we're like, oh, we need 8K. Devs, we need everything in 8K. And, I've talked to Don before, and he's actually said that he's seen development already in 8K and they scaled it down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's out there, right? I mean, they're prepared for it. But just imagine, we're not even at the place or capability of having the proper storage for 8K content. That is a large amount of storage. You're going to need something super quick. So you're going to need SSDs and NVMe's. And you know how much a few terabytes of that would cost right now for the average casual person? It would just be ridiculous. So I just think that we don't need to push everything to the max or the limits right away. Let things take their time. Let the markets develop properly, because if we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, they're just going to keep selling us and upselling us and upselling us. I mean, TV manufacturers, if they could, they would already probably be selling us 12Ks to throw at our 4Ks to get to 8Ks in most rooms, and then give us 12Ks and then 16Ks just because they keep making money. That's how they keep making money, because 4Ks dropping in price. You can get you could probably go to Walmart and get a 4K TV for $200 on sale. I mean, I'm sure they would rather sell you, something that's higher up for 6K or 5K. Let's just take time, people. Let's take our time. Enjoy what we got. Enjoy it. It's here for the moment. I can't talk about the other systems that I used to enjoy that were there for the moments, that had green screens and they were portable and they were beautiful.
No. You are walking that line, sir. You are walking that line right now.
I didn't say it, but I enjoyed it, and people just wanted bigger, and then we lost it. Yo,
Jamie, I think I see a trend with our special guests. You ever notice they try walking that line? We saw it with Randall Thor as well, man, trying to come in and trying to mess with the line. The main rule of the podcast, and now we see clowns trying to do it as well. I think that's
whoa. Xbox has a throwback game that's 8-bit green screen pixel. It's like P something, PEA. It's like a little P guy. Me and Daz and I played it. It was really cool. So yes, take your time because I still go back and play those games even on Xbox. Xbox. Okay. Yes. There, I did it. I came back around.
Dude, and
You know-
Came back around.
sounds like you feel good about it too, man. What's up, Jamie?
You know, like I know Clowns are saying like I love 4K. The truth is I love non-blurriness. Like I was saying, like Smallville on DVD looks horrendous. I would take 1080p over the standard DVD. But the problem with gaming is that like we got these Xbox Ones in 2013. Yeah, 2013. In games were coming out the gate 720p, 720p. So when you
900.
play these
As well.
900p, yeah. But when you play these games on a 4K television, it looks blurry because the anti-aliasing isn't there, and it just looks blurry. Now, if I go back to the 90s, right, and I play a game, do you know what a lot of people in the UK complained about at the time? Was that the 90s consoles, we had these games that were running at 60 hertz, but the TVs were only 50. So games looked like they were playing in slow motion.
Yes.
At the time we would complain that the games looked bad because I think it was Tekken. Tekken looked like you were kind of playing in slow motion because the hertz didn't match. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I remember that was a big thing over there too.
Yeah, and we had to deal with that for a long time, and it was so annoying. You'd get a new game, and oh great, it's got the slow motion effects, and you know, it's always like a visual thing because I knew people at the time that didn't care about it. I knew people at the time that couldn't even notice that there was a difference. So when 60 hertz TVs came more into effect in the UK, the complaint stopped because the game that developers made the way they wanted to performed the way they wanted to. What I'm saying is I don't like playing a game in 2020 made by a developer in 2020 at 720p. I just want the game to look good. And here's the thing: I've been pushing DLSS more than 4K. Like I think like that you achieve 4K visuals at like 500p. You see where I'm going with this? Like, and that uses less power because they're using like AI and all that, fancy wizardry. But like to me, I think games can look good without sacrificing stuff. And yeah, it's going to take time at the beginning of the new generation. We're in 2020 when everything's gone to crap. I'm just saying, me personally, I like games that don't look blurry. It doesn't have to be 4K. Like again, Assassin's Creed Origins still looks incredible today on One X, and that is like 1600p or something. Same with the Odyssey. Again, my only complaint now, going back to that, is it feels weird at 30 frames.
All right.
So,
well, in that case, like I'm not necessarily, talking to you about that, man. I am asking like how you feel about that situation and stuff. But if you're one of those people that as long as you got a nice clean image, it doesn't really matter if it's a native 4K or something like that, or if something is upscaled but it's upscaled properly, then I'm not really talking to you as like one of those people that's out there saying all that. You see what I'm saying? But we are kind of like we're tossing the topic back and forth between the three of us or whatnot. But like I will say there is again, I get sucked into console war drama all the time. I think you do too. I think part of it is kind of like who I'm affiliated with. There's certain shows on other channels that I'm a part of, and I kind of get sucked in to these conversations, even though I don't necessarily respond to all of them. And one of the things that I see kind of like the hardcore kind of like Xbox community, dare I say extremists, they come in, well, the Series X is, native, it's going to do native 4K, and this game is native 4K. And I'm like, well, dude, don't calm down, because during this whole previous generation with the Xbox One, resolution didn't matter. And technically, if you want to be technical about it and talk to the developers, resolution and graphics are two different things, like set at different times. And like I just don't want it to be all about native resolution. Again, I have kind of like studied certain things within this industry to know, especially with gaming upscale techniques, resolution upscale techniques. Now they're not the same as like what you said about Smallville and stuff like that in terms of upscaling to 4K. The techniques that they're using in games to bring games up to 4K, they're doing a phenomenal job, and they're keeping it nice and crisp. So if they can do that and use whatever right that they were going to use to make it native 4K, and add to more graphics, add more foliage into the games, add to better lighting, add to like more things on the screen, add to better visuals or gameplay mechanics, that's what I would be down with over anything else, to be really honest with you, especially the tag of native 4K. I think at the end of the day, like, people who do champion that, you're championing a marketing tag. The same way that back in the day, 1080p was a marketing tag. 900p and 1080p, you could not really tell the difference between 180 pixels, okay? You really could not do it. But it was a marketing ploy to make a game sound better for a preferred platform. And if you take it and you start talking about native 4K now, you're using that same marketing tactic that was used to tell you that your game on your platform was inferior. Like, you're using the same argument that you were arguing against during the Xbox One generation, is what I'm saying. And you don't really want to do that. Like, graphics are the end all be all. And again, Jamie, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I never stated that you were that person, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I think the resolution topic comes up because, like, we did have to put up for 3 years of that just being everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're on like social media or gaming website. That was literally, the bee's knees, the thing to talk about. It was the topic to talk about on social media because it got attention. But like I was saying, like, I never see people talk about 4K.
All right, brother. All right. Well, on that note, we did go over time. We went over time this time. I still have one more topic we could talk about, but I'm gonna let this roll, man. We're gonna roll this, smoothly into the outros. Now, first off, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who hung out with us tonight. I feel like we had a great show. If you feel like we had a great show and you didn't do it yet, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Share this out. Let people know that we went in. And it wasn't just, I think that's a confusing thing to some people about the Series X podcast. We're not going to go in and just cheer everything Xbox. We're going to talk about things that we think are really good with the Xbox. And we are going to criticize the platform when it needs to be criticized as well. Certain things are certain hot topics are gonna go into this show on a weekly basis. So if you like what you're hearing, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can do that one of two ways. And again, I am hoping and praying that down the line, this can be my job. This can be my 40-hour-a-week paycheck type job where I can go in and I can just talk gaming news with you guys, can do live shows, stream games, all that good stuff. And if you want to support that dream of mine, you can become a member of the channel. You just click join right below this stream, and you can always donate through Super Chat. And when you do put in a Super Chat, you can put in a question, something to say, and because it highlights in a different color, I am guaranteed to say it out loud on the show. So if it's a question, I will repeat the question and ask, people on the panel about it. If it's just something that you want shouted out, you can hit up that Super Chat. I will definitely do that for you as well. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. But we are going into the outros, and you know what? I'm going to go to our guest first. Again, this is somebody I highly respect in the YouTube gaming community. He helped me out when I was up and coming and trying to get my podcast next podcast kind of like, get it, like hit the ground running and stuff, and with wanting to do something different. He is one of the founders of Four Guys with Quarters, which again is one of my favorite podcasts that of course is not on this channel, but definitely one of my favorite podcasts out there, and definitely an inspiration when it came to next podcast. And I will let people know that until the very last day I am on YouTube, and then probably past that, telling my grandkids and stuff about my time on YouTube and what I did. Four Guys with Quarters will definitely come up. But not only that, he is also dropping interviews like crazy, and he is still out there pumping out content. I gotta say, Clowns, it is good to see you kind of like in full swing out here on YouTube, in the gaming community, all that good stuff. Why don't you let people know about Four Guys, the other projects you're doing, if there's any interviews coming up, and of course where they can go to talk games with you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
And you're botting. You are now botting, dude.
No.
Yo, shut it off just for this thing. Shut off your noise reduction just for this thing, man.
All right, 1 second.
Guys, give him a second. He's got to be professional. He's got to have noise reduction and all that stuff.
Is this better?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So what I want to say is this. First of all, Xbot, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's always been a pleasure. I know in the past, I know in that one episode, next podcast, I didn't talk much, but that was back then when I had a lot of negative things dragging me down.
You definitely redeemed yourself tonight, sir. You redeemed yourself tonight, bro. Yes.
I love to help people out in the community. I love to find up and coming people and always promote them. Big shout out to Flamish, who's really, trying hard on Four Guys with Quarters and his own thing. Shout out to Mav as well, who recently joined the panel, is doing his own thing. Shout out to Midway, who's joined the panel. He's hopefully going to get some gameplay up on the channel. And shout out to VJ, who's always coming in with these excellent topics of knowledge, man. He is just filling me up with video game knowledge. So I always love hanging out with people in the community that are positive, like you, Xbot. You're an awesome dude, awesome example. And lately on the channel, I've gotten very fortunate. I've always had friends inside the industry, and it's the first time in a long time that a lot of them have actually wanted to come on the channel since I started hosting and producing. I don't know why, but we've gotten very lucky with a lot of voice actresses that have done amazing stuff. Go check out the interviews with Kosha Engler, Siobhan Hewlett. Go check out the interview with Kelsey Abbott, who's a writer for Cartoon Network, as well as Battletoads, and an upcoming game that she can't talk about yet.
Battletoads!
Check out... Yeah.
Sorry, I had to, man. I had to.
Check out the interview with AJ from Delilah Studios. We actually going to have 2 more guys on from Delilah Studios, another music producer that worked on many games as well. Mike Mika, who's been a friend of mine, he's supposed to come on. No More Robots is supposed to come on. I sent him an email with schedules. A lot of it's schedule conflict. Jimmy Palmiotti, who's a very good Twitter friend of mine, and a lot of guys before Guys Recorders probably heard this as like a ceremony by now. But Jimmy Palmiotti is a really awesome dude. He's a comic creator. He's a Hollywood writer for movies, TV, film, and theater. He helped write Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn. His wife drew the new Harley Quinn. Completely, Amanda Connor.
You are in
she's
the
amazing,
industry, bro. Damn, dude.
He's agreed to come on Four Guys with Quarters after the last Birds of Prey drops. He's an amazing guy, very positive guy, and he's just out there in the community, always promoting other artists in the comic book industry, always trying to give people a heads up, more promotion. He's just, positive people, Xbox. I try to surround myself with them, and I got that from you. You've actually been, to be honest with you, Xbox, one of my biggest inspirations, because my biggest downfall when I first started was I didn't talk enough, or I felt like I couldn't talk, like I was being suffocated. And you've actually taught me over the years how to be more boisterous, how to talk more, how to come out of my shell a little bit more. And with that, I've been able to help a lot more people. So I thank you a lot, my friend, because you are my biggest inspiration and my biggest positivity, and you've helped me a lot more than you actually know.
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned right now, dude. Thank you so much for that, man. I don't know, dude. I From the first time I met you, I knew you were super talented, man. You just had to kind of crack that shell and get out, and to see you doing it, man, it really makes me proud as a friend as well as a colleague. Probably as a friend even more, man, because I do keep that tight circle of cool people, and you and of course my partner in crime here, Jamie, are a part of that circle. So thank you so much, man. I will say, don't thank me, thank God, because that's what I believe in, man. So, but yo, those words, absolutely incredible. Thank you, bro.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. Jamie, it's always awesome to talk with you. I remember going back to when I first started podcasting, you would always post memes and GIFs in responses to topics. And you were known as the GIF and meme king back in the day. And that was always fun to see that kind of stuff. And I'm glad to see that you've grown as well. Your channel is taken off, and you're flexing that 9,000 on Twitter, so nobody better mess with Jamie these days, or they're all gonna get GIFs and
He
memes.
got that 9,000 bicep right there. It's just oh.
That's why we're getting Mass Effect remakes right there.
Yeah, it's all because of Jamie, dude. I kind of believe that, actually. Yeah, I really do. But with that being said, I gotta go to my partner in crime, my brother, the elusive gamer, aka Jamie Moran. Brother, episode 10 is in the books, man. 10 episodes in. Dude, what do you think? Are we creating a revolution? Are things plowing forward the way we expected, man? I hope so, man. I'm having a blast doing this show with you, and of course, you got your YouTube channel. It's growing, The Elusive Gamer. You gotta let people know about that, and you are definitely active out there on social media. You got to let people know where they can go to talk games with you if they have been living under a rock and they don't already follow you.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's been awesome talking to clowns again. Look, look, not everyone on this podcast or just in general has to have the exact same opinion. So,
Exactly.
I don't want anyone to think I'm not angry at Bosch
No,
for
he hates me. He hates me now, people. He sent me the DM. I don't know what's gonna happen next week. So, you got to tune in next week too. Go ahead.
But it's all good, man. But yeah, I've been trying to grow my channel for years now. The problem with me is I was never consistent. But for the past year and a half, I've been more consistent, and getting there, trying to push forward with my channel. And I want to get to the point where I'm going to be posting different stuff every day. But that could take some time. But again, if all my 9,000 followers can fucking subscribe.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that would be nice. But again, that's the Elusive Gamer, where I have Xbox content, and I literally just talk about Xbox. And I should have an Xbox Series X review up this week, which should be interesting. And yeah, good times, man. And my Twitter is Jamie Man UK, where it's just gaming.
Nice. And again, huge shout out to all you guys, all you crazy supporters of this channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me for so long. And I am not planning on stopping anytime soon. You're gonna get new content from me. I have been game streaming more. Shout out to the people who are digging my PGA Tour 2K21 live streams. I didn't know if anybody would come in and check them out, but to see the people come in, and people coming in repeatedly to check out that game and to see what I do in that game, you guys are absolutely amazing. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, now is a great time to subscribe to this channel. This is the home of two podcasts. One you are watching right now, the Series X podcast, the Xbox podcast for Xbox gamers, and every Thursday we have the Next podcast, which is a gaming news podcast that will go across all platforms. Clowns, we got to get you on there as well, because then you are allowed to talk about other platforms. You can talk about that pea soup green screen and stuff as much as you want on that show.
Yes.
So we got to
yes.
we got to get you on that show as well. But guys, definitely think about subscribing. If you want to, support the channel, definitely think about becoming a member as well. I'm planning on some live streams, maybe a gaming news live stream going live tomorrow, talking about multiplat performance when it comes to the Series X. So, stay tuned for that. I'm going to go live video status, and let you guys know that there is a dirty little secret that these developers for multiplats are holding on about developing their games on the Series X. So definitely tune into that tomorrow. I will let you know what that secret is, and you will be better informed when you are out there talking about games on social media. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and I got to end the show the way I was told on the very first show, the way I have to end it every week. So, guys, keep it gaming, and of course, as always, keep it Xbox. Have a great night, everybody.